I mean, Star Wars, Schmar Wars, right? Who cares about that when you have the Nicole Claus movie coming, guys? Howdy, mate. This is Crazy Lou coming to you from somewhere in the Australian outback, I guess. I don't know, the pigtails sort of made me look like a farm girl, so that's where my mind went, and it's a terrible accent, so let's not do that again. Anyway, hi guys, Carla here, and this video is gonna be really quick, hopefully, because I am stupidly late with recording this thing. Like, I literally have zero time to edit it, so what I'm gonna try and do is be as quick as possible. That's why I decided to stick with a topic that doesn't have too many sprawling aspects to it. But before I get to that, I do want to make a mention that this week I did something that I very rarely do, and I have mentioned this in previous videos of mine, and it's the fact that I don't go to the movies to like be stressed out. I would prefer my movies to be, you know, as regular as possible. I don't mind some drama, but if the entire movie is going to keep me stressed out, I try to avoid that. That is why I rarely go see horror movies. Well, that and the fact that I'm a freaking scaredy cat, but I rarely go see horror movies. It's just not a thing that happens. Well, this week I did, because it was sort of a 1-2 punch. You guys know how obsessed I am with anything that has like a group of kids or preteens or teens in the lead. It's why I love YA literature and YA fiction so much in general. And of course, you know, Finn Wolfhard is like basically my adopted son. I love that kid so much. So the movie It came out last weekend. It did such a massive amount of money in the box office, I can't even tell you. But I wasn't going to go see it. I am not here for scary movies, but I saw the previews and I saw the interviews, and those kids are so great. I love them all so much, and there's Finn and I love him and I want to support him. So I decided I'm gonna bite the bullet and watch It. It was kind of not that hard of a decision too, because like out of all the stuff that I'm scared of, which is a lot, clowns is not one of them. And I know being afraid of clowns is kind of the in thing right now, like suddenly everybody's afraid of clowns. I've never been afraid of clowns. I was a regular kid who liked clowns and liked what they did, and you know, the balloons and the makeup and the songs and the dances. I like that shit. I was a normal kid. So I have no problem with clowns. Actually, I have very fond memories of clowns from my childhood. And I wasn't particularly scared by any of the trailers either, so I decided, you know, I might as well try. Worst that can happen is I'm traumatized for life. It's not the first time. Like, I'm already scared of a lot of shit in real life. So I decided to go, and turns out it's an amazing movie. It's such a great movie, and it's not even that scary. Of course, if you hate clowns and are afraid of clowns and have like a legit phobia of them, then you're pretty much screwed. Yes, don't go watch this movie. But if you're like me, who doesn't mind clowns and isn't particularly afraid of them, it's actually a pretty damn good movie. It's not as scary. It's more like suspense, really. And even when there are scares, jump scares, you kind of know when they're coming, because that's what the movie does. It legitimately keeps a steady clip of creepiness, so you know when something's gonna happen and you're kind of mentally prepared for it. So I wasn't really scared by it. Honestly, it feels like more of a coming of age movie to me. It's basically like Stand By Me, which is one of my favorite movies of all time, but it's basically like Stand By Me, except every once in a while there's appearances by a creepy murderous clown. You know what I mean? For me, it was more the coming of age story than the clown murders. So I actually really loved it. I walked out of it wanting to watch it again. I think I'm gonna buy the DVD when it comes out. Like, this never happens, guys. I'm not like a horror fan, but if you are like me and you think you can, take being in a scary clown movie and you don't think it's going to send you into some kind of, like, a panic attack or something, give it a try. It's a really good movie. It really deserves all the praise it's getting. I think it was an incredible movie, and just because Finn is my adopted child, I have to tell you, go support the movie. It's an amazing movie, really it is. Apart from that though, and now going to a bit of the main point of the video, something that happened a couple weeks ago that had the nerd and geek community collectively losing its mind is that Star Wars Episode 9 lost its director. It was supposed to be Colin Trevorrow, who directed Jurassic World. All of a sudden, after months of Kathleen Kennedy praising him and him being so glad and so hyped to be part of the Star Wars family, all of a sudden, a couple weeks ago, a week ago, they're just like, oops, he's no longer working with us. And the entire fandom freaked. And I can't blame them, I did too. Like, my first reaction was, are you freaking kidding me? This again? Because already we've seen lots of times when Lucasfilm just hires a director and then all of a sudden can't work with them. It happened with Norman Miller for the Han Solo movie. They had to bring people to do reshoots, and they had to bring a new director to do reshoots with Rogue One. So it's not a thing that's happened that's unique to Episode 9, but I thought Episode 9 was going to be exempt from that because they've been working with Trevorrow so long already, right? And they seem to have a good rapport, so it really came as a shock to me, and I was kind of on the edge of my seat for that entire week. And then a couple of days later, they announced that they have found a new director for Episode 9. I originally thought they were going to go back to Rian Johnson because they seem to have, like, out of all the movies that they have done since restarting the Star Wars franchise, the one that doesn't seem to have had any problems was Episode 8 with Rian Johnson directing. So everybody kind of assumed that they would get Rian Johnson to do it again. Turns out they're not. They decided to go back to J.J. Abrams, who directed The Force Awakens. And this whole switcheroo with Star Wars has caused production to be delayed a little bit. Now it's not going to premiere in May, it's going to premiere instead in December of 2019. And that has caused the entire Disney lineup that year to sort of be switched around. Because, of course, if you move a movie as big as Star Wars to December, all the other movies, the ones that you had in December, the ones that you had in May, the ones that you had in between, have to be rearranged in order to make sense of that movie, right? So that's what I'm going to talk about today, just all the switcheroo that happened with Star Wars and Disney in general, and what I think of it. Let's start with Star Wars, because that was kind of the catalyst for everything. Like I said, I was really freaking worried when I heard about Trevorrow leaving. It's not the ideal situation. Again, it's not the first time it happens to Lucasfilm. They seem to have a problem hanging on to their directors, and they seem to have a problem choosing people that they think are going to be edgy or whatever, but then not being able to, like, let go enough of the property to let them do their own thing. They seem to have a very strong vision of what they want for these movies, and that comes at the detractment of directors who have their own very personal creative vision. A lot of people are angry with Lucasfilm when it comes to this. I'm not. I think Star Wars, much like Marvel, much like DC, these big franchises, they have to have an overall vision, because the movies are not separate from each other, and especially in the case of Star Wars, because not only are the movies meant to conjoin with each other, but you also have books, you also have toys, you also have TV shows, animation, you also have a bunch of stuff surrounding those movies and coming from those movies and taking canon from those movies. You need to have a canon, right? So I'm very much okay with Lucasfilm sort of keeping the reins on every time. I do think they could work a little better with new and very stylistic directors, very independent directors, because there are some stories you can tell that don't need to have the studio breathing on those people's necks all the time. I do think they need to give them a little bit more leeway when it comes to that. However, if it comes to a point when a director is just doing his own thing, I think Lucasfilm has every right to be like, nope, we're not here for that. Please go, we'll find somebody else who can do what we want them to do. I'm okay with that. Like, there's a place for studio interference, and there's a limit to studio interference. If obviously it's just the studio running things, like say Fantastic Four, where the studio clearly just took over the movie from the director and decided to do their own thing, that's a problem. But I'm okay with a certain level of oversight from the studios because it's such a connected universe, especially in Star Wars. Like, if you have Marvel, where Kevin Feige is overseeing everything with an iron grip, but the movies work, then it's fine. And I think Marvel has proven that most of their movies work because of that vision. Now, should Lucasfilm sort of greenlight more stories that don't necessarily have to be as connected to canon as these have been? Sure. I think eventually you want to open up the universe, and you want to give creators just stories that they can develop from the ground up without needing as much input from the studio and without needing to be as faithful to a certain part of canon. I don't think we're at that point yet. I mean, we had Rogue One was very specific in its timing and in what had to happen, basically. Now we're having Han Solo, which Han is one of the most beloved characters. You cannot go wrong with him at all. There's no leeway there. We're gonna have, of course, the Obi-Wan movie. Again, these are characters that are very specific. And of course, with the 3 episodes, you have to have the studio overseeing that. There's just no moving through. So I don't think we're at that point where the studio can just go and say, hey, do whatever you want. I don't think we're there. So I don't blame Lucasfilm. I think a lot of people rush to say, oh, Lucasfilm is just too controlling and they're not letting directors do what they want to do, and it takes away from the creativity of the director or whatever. I get it. I do want more creativity. I just don't think we're at the point yet where directors can just go and do whatever the hell they want, because the canon in Star Wars is so strict. It's so particular. It's so everything in their franchise depends on the canon. They are very strict about it. So I don't think we've hit that point yet. I hope we hit it. I'm okay with Lucasfilm taking a harder stance on what the directors do and don't do in their movies as of now. And as long as the product turns out to be good, I'm okay with it. And so far, Lucasfilm has not made a bad movie since they restarted the franchise. So I'm still on board. If Han Solo turns out to be awful, then we'll talk. Like, then I have a problem, maybe. But so far, I'm okay with it. I don't know much about Colin Trevorrow. I don't particularly care for his movies. I didn't watch Jurassic World. I'm not interested. So I have no frame of reference for him. I do have a frame of reference for Lucasfilm. So as of now, I'm siding with them. I think they're doing the right thing, especially if they do it before production starts. The Han Solo thing, that was a very particular situation because they literally took the directors out while they were filming, and that is very rare. So yeah, there was a little bit of an alarm going off there for me. But I'm okay with them switching up 9 as long as it's done before they actually start production, because they can still fix things. And a proof of that is that they have now moved the release date to December. As far as that goes, I'm okay. I'm also okay with JJ. Yes, he's not the most daring of directors. Yes, he's the safe choice. I don't care. I'm okay with the safe choice. JJ has not made a movie that I hated, at least out of the ones I've seen. He has not made a TV show that I hated, at least out of the ones I've seen. He's a great director. He's really good. Is he safe? Sure. But he's good. He will deliver a decent movie. It might not be the best possible episode 9 we'll ever see, but he will do a good job. We will have a good episode 9 movie. So I'm okay with JJ. I have no problem. I know that some people are complaining, whatever. I loved episode 7. Yes, it was very reminiscent of episode 4. I don't care. That's why I like it. It brought back that feeling of the old-time Star Wars that I needed in order to get into these movies. So I'm totally okay with JJ. No, I don't want him to do a rehash of Return of the Jedi any more than any of you guys do. I'm quite sure that he has heard the criticisms people have for episode 7, and now he's going to work on it, and he's going to try to do his own thing. And also, you know, he's coming off of Rian Johnson's movie, where Rian Johnson possibly took a completely different route, I guess, than JJ would have done, and he said as much. So now he has to work based off of that. So it's not going to be the episode 9 that JJ had in his mind when he was making episode 7. So I'm okay with JJ. The only thing that I'm iffy about is that JJ is going to be co-writing it with Chris Terrio. Chris Terrio is the person who wrote Batman v Superman and Justice League. And because I'm not terribly into the DCEU, and because BVS was so widely criticized, especially by the fans, I'm a little iffy about that. I mean, I did watch Argo, it was good. It's literally like the only good thing that Chris Terrio has done. He doesn't have that extensive of a resume when it comes to writing movies. So I'm a little bit concerned by that. So he's like 50-50, and if Justice League turns out to be not good either, he's going to be in the negative as far as I'm concerned. So I'm a little bit worried about that, but I trust JJ. I like JJ, I like his style, I like what he does with the writing for the most part, so I'm willing to wait and see. It will not be the most original movie ever made, I guess, but I'm okay with it being good. I want it to be good. That's all I want. So, yeah. As far as the release date goes, though, however, I'm ecstatic. I've been saying ever since they announced that they were releasing episode 9 in May, I said, and very loudly, no, they should be releasing this in December. Why? And I know that they want to go back to May because it's the summer and it's the Star Wars date, and the original ones were released in May and whatever, and it's tradition and whatnot. You have a new tradition now. Every December I go with my family to watch a Star Wars movie, and it's great. It's such a great time. And I think you can start that tradition of saying, hey, we are staking our place in December every year, so people know whenever December rolls around, there's a new Star Wars movie coming out. And I think they can do great in December. They've proven that. The Force Awakens proved that. And Rogue One proved that. They can do well in December because there's not many movies coming out in January, so they can make a ton of money just on repeat viewings of people through the weeks as they go by. So I'm ecstatic that it's in December. I have no complaint. I wish they would move Han Solo to December as well. Star Wars, it's the only case where you tell me you're gonna have to wait 6 more months, and I'm like, okay, I'm okay with that. It's like literally the only fandom where that happens. And I think I'm not the only one who feels that way. I've seen a lot of people saying, yes, this is what we want, just put it in December, we'll wait, it's okay, just do it right. I'm good with that. So yeah, good going with the December line. One of the things that happened when Star Wars moved is that the movie that was in December now had to be moved to May, right? Because they were going to have Memorial Day weekend for Star Wars, and now they switched those around. And it turns out that Aladdin, the live action version of Aladdin directed by Guy Ritchie and starring Will Smith and Naomi Scott, is going to be released in the slot that Star Wars used to have. So it's going to be released in May, and as far as this movie goes, I have no problem with it. I was a little bit worried when they announced the leads and none of them were Middle Eastern. Like Naomi Scott is half Indian, and I think the guy who is the lead, who's going to play Aladdin, is Egyptian, and a lot of people were bothered by that. I I was as well. I do know that the original Disney animation movie actually had some Indian influences, so maybe there's that, but original Aladdin story is Arabian, basically. So I wish that they would have stuck to Middle Eastern actors. However, it's still an amazing opportunity to have a movie which is comprised, the cast is mostly comprised of people of color. I think that's a good step forward. It's not perfect. They still have to deal with that, and I know the whole Indian thing bothers people because I also feel that way when Hollywood takes Latin American people to just be like all the exact same thing. Like, we're all Mexicans. No, we're not. You know, it's like, if you're going to play El Che, you don't get a Mexican. If you're going to have like a Cuban teenager doing Dirty Dancing, you don't pick a Mexican. You know, we're different. There's a separation. We're all Latinos, but we're not all the same. So I know how that feels. However, I do feel that every time we get the chance to have a movie where the entire cast, or mostly the entire cast, because they had to add in a white dude, they couldn't just not have a white dude in the movie, but mostly the entire cast is people of color, I think that's good. So I'm good with Aladdin. I'm looking forward to it. I've never really been a fan of Guy Ritchie's style, so I might need a trailer or some footage in order to decide whether I like that or not. But I'm good with Aladdin, and I think it's a good idea for it to come out in May, actually, because it doesn't really feel like a Christmas movie. I mean, there's no Christmas in the Middle East. It's not a religious thing back there. So I don't know. I'm good with it being in May. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. Also, Disney announced that the movie they are releasing in August, which previously was unknown, is now going to be a Christopher Robin movie that they're doing with Ewan McGregor in the lead role. And I don't know about this, I was never really into Winnie the Pooh, so whatever, I probably won't see it, but it's good to know. And they also have a movie called Nicole Claus, which is starring Anna Kendrick, and she's playing the daughter of Santa Claus or something. That's now coming out November 8th, which I think is weird because out of all these movies, that one's a Christmas movie, but I guess you want Star Wars near Christmas, so of course they had to move it back a little bit. I don't know about this movie. I mean, I love Anna Kendrick, God knows I love her, but it's a movie about the daughter of Santa Claus, so yeah, I think I've outgrown those, basically. Also, it really, for some reason, it really bothers me that they named her Nicole rather than Noelle, which is like the common sense name, really. I think it was a missed opportunity there for Disney. But yeah, I probably don't care. The one I do care about, however, is that there was a movie they were releasing in August as well that they hadn't disclosed which one it was. Turns out it's going to be the Artemis Fowl movie. I'm so excited! August 8th, 2019. I'm still not sure this movie is going to happen, but just the fact that there's a release date now makes me so excited. I've seen that there's casting calls coming out for kids 12 to 13 in Ireland to play Artemis, which is great. I was kind of hoping that they'd age him up a little bit, just because the whole child with the grown adult thing is going to be a little bit weird to see on screen, but I'm okay with them doing it the way they did in the book, which is Artemis was a young kid, and then Holly, the leprechaun agent, was older-ish, like she looked like she was 19 or so. So it'll be interesting to see how they play this, but I'm glad that Artemis Fowl is finally a thing that seems tangible. I don't know, you guys, I know that most people don't know what Artemis Fowl is. It's an excellent series. It's for kids, so if you're an adult, maybe take it with a grain of salt, but I read them when I was a teen, and they are so good. I love those books. I love Artemis. It's such a great story, really. It's this kid who is super rich, and he's 12 years old, and he's a genius, and he uses his genius to become a criminal mastermind, and it's great. It's such a great series, such a great concept. I love it so much, and I'm so hyped because Kenneth Branagh is directing this movie, and I know that we haven't seen much of him, so I was wondering a couple of months ago, hey, is he still actually attached to this thing? But he was working on Murder on the Orient Express, so he wasn't really doing much for Artemis Fowl at that point. But now that Murder on the Orient Express is actually done and it's coming out soon, maybe Kenneth Branagh can start working on the Artemis Fowl movie as his next project, and I can't wait. It's so great. Like, I might actually be more ecstatic about this one piece of news than I am about Star Wars. Like, I love Artemis Fowl that much. If you get a chance, please do read the series. It's excellent. It's so great, so funny, so entertaining. I love it, and I can't wait to see it on screen. Still 2 years to go, but it's gonna be good. That's about it for the Disney slate. I know I spoke a lot more than I wanted to, and now I don't know how I'm going to edit this, but I will get to a finished product with this, and it will be uploaded on Friday, so you can call me on that. I'm just really kind of excited about the 2019 slate that Disney has now unveiled. I'm really glad to see some of the names that I've been expecting in that list, as well as Star Wars moving to December. I'm just really happy. I'm really excited to see this, and I'm really looking forward to watching all these movies, except the ones that I'm not going to watch because I don't care about them. But, you know, most of them I do like. So, tell me, what do you think? What do you think about the whole Star Wars situation with the move to December and the director switch? What do you think? Are you looking forward to it? Are you terrified that it's going to be awful? What are your thoughts about this? And what do you think about the rest of the Disney slate now? What about Aladdin? What about Artemis Fowl? What about Christopher Robin? Or Nicole Claus? I still don't get that name. But what do you think about those? Let me know in a comment. And also, while you're at it, if you have any topics that you'd like me to talk about in the future, whether it's anything geeky from TV, books, movies, anything like that, feel free to drop it in a comment. And if it's anything I know about, if it's anything I'm knowledgeable about, I will make sure to make a video about it in the future. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. If you like my stuff, please subscribe to my channel. I'm always happy to see people subscribing and liking and sharing and commenting, because that's why I do this. I just want to have a conversation with fellow fans about the stuff that I love. So please keep at it. In the meantime, you can find me on social media. I am on Twitter and Instagram at girlsareweird with underscores between the words, and I am on Tumblr at girlsareweird with hyphens between the words. You can find a Facebook page for this vlog at facebook.com/FreakingNarnia. And as usual, be sure to visit my main website at FreakingNarnia.com. All my videos are up there in case you missed anything and want to catch up, so be sure to check that out. And also remember, I have a Redbubble store where I make art based on my favorite quotes from my favorite fandoms, and then you can use that art to print on different merchandise, such as t-shirts and coffee cups and computer covers. There's a ton of stuff in there, so be sure to check that out and maybe purchase something if you're in the mood. It really does help me a lot. That's about it from me today. I will see you guys next Friday with another video from all the way in freaking Narnia. And bye! I mean, Star Wars Star Wars Schmarwards. Star Wars Schmarwards. Howdy, mate! Send you into a death spiral. Disney had a slot